here, so again, they already have their makeup on, they already have their foundation on. What I wanted to demonstrate on her was how to properly highlight and contour your face. So is that something that kind of is a stickler to people that they don't really understand? Okay, perfect, perfect, this will be good. So she has a beautiful skin, she has a beautiful face. I want to be able to show, especially on a deeper skinned woman, because a lot of the times we can't find colors that are good for us. I want to be able to show how to highlight and contour, right? Cool. So first of all, I brought out my handy dandy color wheel. Now, anybody that has taken my makeup class, anybody that has taken any of my makeup classes, y'all know that I've had this color wheel since the beginning of time. It don't spin right. It's kind of fun part, but it's near and dear to me. What's happening here?
Really bad.
So anywho, when you're trying to highlight and contour your face, what you have to understand is what you're trying to correct on your face first. So a lot of people like that highlighted, really, really nice light look underneath their eyes. It looks bright and Kim Kardashian and all that kind of stuff. But you want to make sure you get your dark spots first. You want to make sure you take care of those first. So generally, when you have some type of a dark spot, whether it's a blemish on your face, dark circles, anything like that, it's typically a tone of this. If you look at it, it almost like a bruise. It looks like it's just a really, really dark spot. It's typically like a bluish, greenish type of undertone to it. To physically correct that, you have to do something that's opposite of the color wheel, which is something warm. So if you go to MAC and you use MAC shades, you hear they say NW and NC. You guys heard of that before? NW stands for neutral. Something is the same, right? NW stands for neutral warm, which means it's going to be a little bit more of the red side, and then NC is the neutral cool, right? The tone, more the yellow side. So to physically make your face, take all the blemishes away and make it look nice and even, you have to make sure you correct those spots. And first you got to understand what those spots, what they look like, right? So typically, most people, when you have a dark spot on your face, you need to correct it with something warm. Now, if you're somebody that gets red blemishes, like if you get a breakout and it turns red, then you have to use something cool, okay? So first, I'm going to make sure, even though she has on some concealer and foundation and it looks amazing, whoever did her makeup, it looks amazing, I'm going to just kind of go through it so I can show you guys how to correct it, all right?
Megan,
so I'm going to use on her NW50.
Okay.
Now again, that stands for neutral warm 50, which means it's going to have a little bit more red in it. So I just kind of take it and scoop it on the back of my hand, because when you do that, it warms up the product and makes it glide a little bit better. So right up underneath her eye, like I said, it looks good, it looks amazing, but I just want to kind of just tidy it up just a little bit. Look up for me. We're going to correct any dark that she may have, because if you want to highlight her face, if you don't correct it the right way, you put this light concealer on, your dark spots are going to still come through, or they're going to look ashy maybe. So you want to correct it with some kind of a warm concealer first. So this is NW50, this is MAC Studio Finish Concealer. I personally like this concealer because it's full coverage, so it covers up a lot if you wanted to. But because I'm putting it on with the blending brush, it kind of goes a little bit softer. It doesn't go so heavy on her face. Okay. And you want to focus when you're doing underneath the eye, the corner of the nose, the corner of the eye, to the corner of the nose, to the other corner of the eye. It's like almost like a triangle underneath her eye. So right up underneath her eye. Now she doesn't have any blemishes on her face. So we will. Do y'all see the blemishes? They're supposed to cover them up because I don't see no blemishes. She doesn't have any blemishes that we can see on her face. So we don't have to go on her face and get any spots. But if it were me, if she had any spots on her face, I would take that same concealer and hit all them spots. That way you don't have to use as much foundation because you've already taken care of all of her imperfections, right? So now, because I'm going to brighten her up, then I'm going to step into more of the cool, the more yellowy concealers. Hey, hello guys! They must have just got their sangria or something. They're back there tipping. So I'm going to use a little bit of an NC, and if you can tell the difference, this is more reddish, and this kind of looks a little more toasty, like yellowy. This is the difference between correcting and highlighting, okay? So the same brush, I'm going to go up underneath her eye, and with the NC, I'm going to highlight underneath her eye. This is going to just brighten her up. It's going to make her look more awake. If you have any, like, just any dark spots, it's almost going to take it away from her. Just blend it out. So I'm just going to set it with just a light loose powder, nothing too big, nothing too fancy. So this is me highlighting her face. So when she takes her picture, she'll look nice and bright. She won't see any dark underneath her eyes. So everything is kind of happening in this triangle underneath her eyes. Essentially, you don't want to just highlight underneath here because you want to highlight your whole face, really. So that's why I'm kind of going all the way down here. So to contour her, because she is a deeper shade, and a lot of us can't really get those deeper shades, I kind of improvise. Remember how I told you I use eyeshadow for blush and blush for eyeshadow? That's what I'm going to do on her. So we're going to use an eyeshadow. I'm going to use something that is a matte, because I don't want it to be shiny. I want, when you contour somebody's face, it's almost like you're making things suck in. When people contour their nose, they contour their cheeks, things are kind of getting sunken in. Sink in, sucked in.
Sunken.
Sunken in, there we go. Right. Got to make it right. They get sunken in. So if you want things to get sunken in, you don't want to apply some type of a shimmer, because shimmers make things pop out. So that's why I'm using a matte finish, because I want it to look like it's creating a shadow, it's creating this contour in her face. So we're going to use a little bit of, I think this is going to be a bark. This is just like a brush. This is an eyeshadow brush, but I'm going to use it as a brush. Turn that way a little bit. Do the sucking face for me. You know how to do that? It's a little harder than that, though. Okay, cool. From the top of her ear to the middle of her mouth, we're going to do this contour. And you can kind of see where that's already creating a shadow on her cheeks, right? If you don't know where your cheekbone is, that's how you do the sucking face. So if you don't know where the cheekbone is, you do the sucking face.
You do the
things.
Like that, right?
So all the way from the top of her ear to that corner of her mouth, we're going to almost create like a line as if she's kind of sunken in right there. And it almost looks like her cheeks are just kind of a little bit more narrow. Now you want to continue the contour up to her forehead so that we can narrow her forehead out a little bit more. And then come down to her jawline. So it's essentially, it's a number 3. Okay, so the side of your face should be like a number 3. And you want to hit it here because it makes like so your jawline stops right here, so it tightens it up real, real good. Just kind of blend it on in. Depending on where you're going and what you're doing is how much you can do. Like if you don't want it to be too dramatic, then you don't have to do as much. But if you have her turn one side, yes, and then turn the other side. Can you tell the difference? You see how it's kind of sunken in a little bit? And we didn't use a lot. Okay, turn this way. So slowly but surely. Now it's always best to kind of come with a little bit versus kind of being all like that and then put it on her face, because then if it's too much, you have to wipe some of it off. So get a little bit at a time, that way you can build it up. Up through the forehead. And then down through the jawline. Now I'm using a smaller brush, any kind of brush to do. Sometimes I use a bigger brush. You don't want to go too big, because if you put too much dark right here, what's it going to look like? Somebody stopped you in the face, right? Yes. Your brush don't want to be too big. No, not too big. Up and through here. And number 3 motion. Okay? So now for the nose part. Now everybody always, if you follow me, you know I got to snatch and pinch my nose at times, right? Now this morning I couldn't, because I got a new shade of a woman and I can't match the color of her face. But this is how I contour my nose. So when you're contouring your nose, it gives you that nice sunken in nose. It's nice and svelte. That's what we want here. You want to take your contour up from the brow, down the side of the nose, through the tip and back up. Contour should never really just stop. It should just like stop right here and you can see it stop, because it just doesn't look natural. So as you saw, I kind of went here, but then I made sure it kind of blended so that you really can't see where it stops. So here, we're going to go straight up from her brow, straight up to her brow and down the side of her nose. Just a little bit. And again, a little bit at a time, guys. Right up in her front of her brow and right down the side of her nose. And like I said, you do it and then you step back. Because sometimes when you all up in it, you think that you did it right and then you're like, oh, shit, did it right. So you want to back up a little bit. And then add more if you need to. Just like that. highlight down the middle of her nose. I'm just using the same brush. I put a little bit of this, that cool color we first put on, right down the middle of her nose. This makes the nose pop out in the middle, but then it's sunk in on the sides. So it's giving her like a double skinny nose almost, right? And I'll blend that right up into the forehead, right on the top of the lip, right in the middle of her chin. Okay? And voila! So she wanted to do any more cheeks. If I had her foundation, I'd probably blend it in a little bit more, but this is essentially where you want to highlight and contour your face. So the contour is here, here, and here, and alongside the nose. The highlight is underneath the eyes, down the middle of the nose, and the forehead. It's almost like it's a T. It's almost like it's a T when it's the highlight. And then the number 3 is the contour. Real easy. You're next. You said you knew everything, so you were nodding, so I figured that you was going to come next. Any more questions about this look? Yes, baby.
So, do you ever use a cream foundation or a cream when you like to contour and darker parts?
Good question. For me personally, she asked the question, she said, do I ever use cream products to contour? I don't personally because I want the finish to be a powdery finish. Because when I do foundation and everything, I do liquid, then I set it with the powder. So because it's already a powdery finish, I finish it off with the powder with the contour as well. Yeah, good question. Yes, baby.
If you're already highlight.
Yes. So she asked if you're a person that has a lot of NC, even if not even just NC so fast. If your person has a lot of cool tones, if you're like a yellow, you have a lot of cool tones on your skin, would you still use the NW? Absolutely. The NW is made for anybody that has dark spots. Whatever shade you are, whether you're Caucasian, Persian, whatever you are, if you have a dark spot on your face, you want to warm it up with that NW. And then if you want to highlight some more, which you probably should if you're NC, highlight with the NC.
With the lighter NC.
Not necessarily the lighter one. I don't like to go too light because it looks scary if it goes too white underneath the eyes. So you may want to just make sure and see. For you, I'll probably do like an NW35 and maybe a little NC45 or NC42. Yep. Any more questions? Yes, baby.
How do you choose which color to use for contour?
The best way that I would say choose it, like if you go into a counter and you're trying to figure out what your color, even with the foundation and concealer, have them try whatever they think is the right one. Go outside with a mirror and see it in the natural light. Because I used to work for MAC, and when I used to take my customers outside so that we could see, because you know when you're in the lighting in the stores, you can't really see too good. But you want to almost go like maybe a shade or two darker, and I mean, you really don't know what a shade is necessarily. I don't know how to measure a shade, but maybe like a shade or two darker for your contour, and maybe like a shade or two lighter for your highlight. Good questions. Any more questions? We move on to the next model. Yes, ma'am.
You said a shade or two darker for the contour?
Yes, ma'am. Yep. Very good. Any more questions? You guys know everything, right?
For your foundation, when you do the liquid and the powder finish, does that create more natural?
It depends on what foundation and concealer you use. Very good question. She asked, when you do the liquid and then put the powder on top, does it look natural? When I do makeup, it does, but I think it's about how much product you use and what you put it on with. For example, I like to use a lot of fluffy brushes, because fluffy brushes don't put it on as heavy. So that's one thing that'll help you not look as heavy. That as well as what coverage your products are. If you have something that's really, really heavy already, then it may look heavy on you. So that's why I said maybe try different things to see what kind of matches well. Pretty good. Yes, Pumpkin?
What foundation do you use?
On myself or my clients? I like Studio Fix Fluid by MAC. If you ever use it or not, I like it because it's a full coverage matte finish. So with it being full coverage and matte finish, if I wanted it to not be as full coverage, then I'm mixing water with it to make it water down a little bit. Or if I want it to be more of a luminescent finish, I'll mix like a moisturizer with it. So it's like I can dummy it down and make it do what I want it to do. Versus if it was really, really light coverage, it was really, really watery, I would have to add a whole bunch of layers. And it's like she got a whole bunch of makeup. Yeah. She said, what's the difference? And I just said, MAC. I use